Have you ever felt like knowing too much makes life harder? Like the more you understand people, the more you wish you didn't? If you've ever sat alone in a crowded room, quietly observing, not judging, just noticing, then maybe you already carry the weight that haunted one of history's greatest minds. Arthur Schopenhauer wasn't just a philosopher, he was a man who saw through the illusions of life, peeled back the curtain, and what he found wasn't beauty, it was despair. While the world celebrated ambition, pleasure, and success, Schopenhauer whispered a terrifying truth. Intelligence doesn't set you free. It isolates you, it exhausts you, and eventually, it breaks you. Today, we'll explore the chilling reason why Schopenhauer believed being intelligent might be the worst thing that could ever happen to you. And by the end of this video, you might wish you never had a thinking mind at all. So take a breath, and let's begin. Arthur Schopenhauer wasn't like the other great thinkers of his time. He didn't chase fame. He didn't crave applause. In fact, during his lifetime, hardly anyone listened to him. He lived alone, surrounded by silence, books, and a single loyal poodle. He walked the streets of Frankfurt, avoiding crowds, speaking to no one. Yet within his mind, entire worlds were unraveling. Where others saw beauty, he saw vanity. Where others chased happiness, he saw an endless chase, doomed from the start. Born in a world that worshipped progress and optimism, Schopenhauer stood in the shadows and whispered a warning. Life is suffering. The more you know it, the more you feel it. He wasn't bitter. He wasn't cruel. He was simply honest. Brutally, relentlessly honest. And that honesty came at a cost. Ignored by his peers, laughed at by his rivals, Schopenhauer wrote not to please others, but to survive himself. Because deep down, he believed one tragic idea. The more intelligent you are, the more you suffer. And there's nothing you can do to stop it. And that's where his hidden secret begins. What if the very thing we celebrate, intelligence, is quietly destroying us? Schopenhauer believed that to be intelligent was not to be enlightened, but to be cursed with awareness, to see life not as a story of joy and meaning, but as a brutal cycle of desire, disappointment, and decay. He wrote, "The ordinary man lives only in the present. The intelligent man lives in his thoughts, and his thoughts bring him pain. Because the more you understand the world, the harder it becomes to ignore its cruelty. You start to see the hidden motives behind smiles, the emptiness behind success, the futility behind every victory. Where others feel hope, the intelligent feel burden. Where others move on, the intelligent replay every detail. And slowly, silently, something begins to change. You laugh less, you question more, you withdraw, not because you hate the world, but because you understand it too well." Schopenhauer wasn't alone in this feeling. Maybe you felt it too. That quiet ache when you realize knowledge doesn't always lead to peace. Sometimes it leads to isolation. And it's here, in this silence, that his warning becomes clear. Have you ever been in a room full of people and still felt completely alone? Not because they ignored you, but because you couldn't connect. The conversations felt shallow, the laughter rehearsed, and all you could do was sit there, nodding, thinking, is it just me? Or is no one really saying anything at all? Schopenhauer would have understood that feeling perfectly. He believed that intelligence created a silent distance, a chasm between you and the rest of the world. Not because you chose to be different, but because you see differently. You see the contradictions people ignore. You feel the weight of questions others never even ask. And so, you retreat, not because you don't care, but because you care too much. You carry the pain of awareness like a stone in your chest. And after a while, even joy feels muted. This wasn't just Schopenhauer's theory. It was his life. He spent decades isolated, writing thoughts the world wasn't ready for. And in that solitude, he discovered a hard truth. The mind can be sharp and still be tired. The heart can be wise and still feel alone. Because intelligence doesn't guarantee connection. Sometimes it builds walls no one else can see, but you feel them every day. We spend our lives chasing knowledge, as if the more we know, the more we'll understand. And the more we understand, the happier we'll be. But what if we've been wrong? Schopenhauer believed that knowledge didn't lead to peace. It led to exposure. The more you know, the more you see. And the more you see, the harder it is to pretend. Pretend that people are kind. Pretend that life is fair. Pretend that we have control. He looked at the world and saw a tragedy, not because he was negative, but because he refused to lie to himself. And so, here's the question no one wants to ask. Would you be happier if you didn't know so much? Think about it. The friend who laughs freely without questioning why. The child who plays without wondering what happens when we die. The stranger who believes with all their heart that tomorrow will be better, without a single reason why. Maybe they're not naive, maybe they're free, and maybe, just maybe, the greatest curse of intelligence is the inability to forget what you've seen. You can't unknow the truth, and once it lives in you, it never lets go. Schopenhauer knew he couldn't change the world. He couldn't make people kinder or life more fair. But he found something else, a fragile, fleeting form of peace, in beauty, not in success, not in pleasure, but in the quiet corners of art, music, and thought. He believed that beauty, true beauty, was the only thing that could lift us, briefly, above the endless pain of desire. Because most of our suffering, he said, comes from wanting more, wanting different, wanting control. And so he stopped chasing. He gave up the games of power and status. He walked alone, listened to classical music for hours, read the ancient texts, and lived simply. Not because he was broken, but because he had seen enough to know. Peace doesn't come from the world. It comes from stepping away from it. He called this escape aesthetic contemplation, those rare moments when we stop wanting and just observe. The sunset, a painting, a single note hanging in the air, moments where, for just a second, the world doesn't hurt anymore. Not because it changed, but because we did. Schopenhauer died over a century ago, but if he were alive today, he wouldn't be surprised, because the curse he described, seeing too much, feeling too deeply, thinking too far, is still alive. You can find it in the anxious overthinker who lies awake at 2 a.m., wondering why life feels so heavy. You can hear it in the voice of a teenager who's just discovered how broken the world can be. You can see it in the silent faces on crowded trains, each carrying their own invisible storm. In the age of information, we are more aware than ever, more connected, yet more isolated, more knowledgeable, yet more lost. We scroll past war, injustice, and cruelty, in between cooking videos and cat memes, and somehow we're expected to smile through it all, but maybe Just maybe this numbness we feel isn't weakness. Maybe it's intelligence cracking under the weight of awareness. Maybe Schopenhauer wasn't pessimistic. Maybe he was just honest before his time. And maybe his warning isn't meant to break us, but to help us recognize that what we feel is real. Now that you've seen what Schopenhauer saw, felt what he felt, you're left with a question, one that has no easy answer. If you had the choice, would you rather know the truth and carry the burden that comes with it? Or would you rather live in comfort, unaware of what lies beneath the surface? It's a question that divides us. Some say, ignorance is bliss. I don't want to see the darkness. I just want to live. Others whisper, I need to know, even if it hurts, even if it changes everything. There's no right answer, just a mirror, and the reflection staring back at you. Schopenhauer never told people what to believe. He simply shared what he saw and left us to decide what we'd do with that vision. So now it's your turn, because once you've opened your eyes, you can't close them again. Not truly, but you can choose how you walk forward. In sorrow, in silence, or in search of something deeper. Maybe Schopenhauer wasn't warning us. Maybe he was offering us a strange kind of comfort. To say, you are not alone in your sorrow. You are not broken for feeling too much. You are simply awake in a world that prefers to sleep. And if you've ever felt overwhelmed by your own thoughts, paralyzed by your own awareness, tired from carrying a mind that never stops turning, then know this, there's nothing wrong with you. Schopenhauer believed that pain was part of the price we pay for seeing clearly. But within that pain, there is also beauty, raw, fragile, fleeting beauty that only the thinking soul can truly recognize. So maybe intelligence isn't a curse. Maybe it's a quiet kind of a gift. A difficult one, yes, but one that lets you notice what others miss. And in those rare moments of stillness, in the echo of music, the brushstroke of a painting, the silence between two thoughts, you just might find the peace he was searching for all along.
Now I want to hear from you. If you had the choice, would you rather see the world as it truly is, with all its pain and complexity, or would you choose the comfort of not knowing? Leave your answer in the comments below. Not just for me, but for the others watching who might feel the same way, and just need someone to say it out loud. And if this video spoke to you, if it made you think, or feel, or even sit in silence for a moment, consider subscribing, because this is just the beginning. There are more truths to uncover, more questions worth asking, and more people like you looking for meaning in the noise. Thanks for watching, and remember, sometimes the heaviest minds carry the most beautiful thoughts.